They felt connected, that they committed to sacrifice their time to come to court every day and take notes and tweet out about what was happening in the trial, because like Ted said and like Mr. Garland said, no national media, nobody was covering it. And so they took it amongst themselves to try to cover it. And so it became very profound to me when they said, Attorney Crump, look in this courtroom. Nobody cares. Nobody's coming. And they said, you have a lot of social media followers. Will you retweet what we tweet so we can tell America what happened here in Oklahoma to these 13 sisters? And I like how she described them as sisters. She didn't see any disconnect between them as college-educated women and the women who was less fortunate than them. She said that they were all connected. And so Grace and Michelle Rodriguez, I said I would tweet it, and we started tweeting it. I started calling everybody I knew in New York and Chicago and LA in the media. I called in the group saying, where are you all at? Where are you all at? You talk about women's issues, and you talk about we have a right in this 2015 to be counted equally, and you see what the federal government and President Obama are saying about women's equality. But these 13 women, nobody was saying a word. And so we started tweeting, and then others started tweeting. Then celebrities started tweeting. And now people finally started paying attention to what heinous crime had took place here in Oklahoma City. And I want to thank you, Grace, publicly, and the sisters, as I have thanked you privately, for helping to tell America about the biggest rape case that none of them had heard about. And without you all, and Dr. Reverend Christine Bird and the ministers, those folks who committed to come every day to court and bear witness to history and tell anybody who would listen what happened to these women, you all are the unsung heroes here of getting the word out. But the biggest hero here, and I hold her hand up in victory because she's a survivor. She is a survivor. Sade is a survivor. This is a victorious time. And we're not celebrating just because what happened in court. We're celebrating their courage to come and tell the story for so many other women who never came forward after they suffered as victims of rape, of domestic violence, of abuse. Well, this is the face of courage when people dare to stand up and say we refuse to remain silent. So we applaud you all. We thank you all. America thanks you all. And so before we let them speak, I'll just say these few observations. I'm here as the president of the National Bar Association, as well as representing these women and Ms. Morris and two other women who wish not to have their names come forward. And we respect that. They're still dealing with a lot. I scratched my head after I talked to Ted and I said, what is it about these 13 women that is problematic or troubling? What is it about them? What is it? Why are they unworthy of national media attention in such a sensational situation as a serial rapist with a badge raping a dozen of women? What is it about them? Aren't they American citizens? Don't they have civil rights? More importantly, don't they have human rights? These rights that are fundamental, that extend beyond state and federal law. these rights that are endowed by our Creator, these basic human rights that are premised on the principles of humanity, what is it about them that there was no national outcry as if this would have been another group of women who had been violated by a serial rapist with a badge? Where is the disdain? Where is the contempt? Where's the national outcry for their equal justice? Where's the national outcry for their equal protection? You know, when I talked to these women, they were concerned because they knew that they were going to be attacked, as often is the case in rape cases. They're victims. And no, they weren't perfect people. Who amongst us are? You know, some might not consider them model citizens, but they were citizens. They were Americans, and their lives mattered. Their experiences mattered. And it mattered just as if this was a group of 13 white women. Their lives mattered just like them. If this was a group of 13 Asian women, their lives mattered just like them. If this was a group of 13 Hispanic women, their lives mattered just like them. And so we're here to declare that black women's lives matter too. And we will not let them be by themselves, isolated and alone. We will not let this be swept under the rug. We have gotten criminal justice, the majority of them. Some of them did not, and that is troubling to us. But we expect to get full justice. So Attorney Solomon Simmons and Attorney Hall and I will be representing them in civil litigation for them to get whole justice, just as anybody's mother, grandmother, daughter, wife would deserve, as any of them would deserve. And so I want to tell you, they're not professional speakers. They didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to get raped. They didn't ask to be violated in this dehumanizing, this vile, disgusting manner. But it happened to them, and with God's help, they're going to speak out about it, and they're going to do the best they can do. And so I ask that you respect them as victims. And you remember that they are victims trying to tell about a very painful experience. First, you will hear from the hero, the true hero in all of this, with her daughters by her side, Miss Janie Liggins. Step up a little bit. Just speak loud and take your time.
Okay. First, I'd like to say good morning, everybody, and give all the praise to God. I just thank God that I can stand here today and talk and say this. I was violated in June by a police officer. He stopped me on 50th and Lincoln for no reason whatsoever, pulled me over, and fondled me and did certain things to me. I was out there alone and helpless, didn't know what to do. And in my mind, all I could think that he was going to shoot me. He was going to kill me. He did things to me that I didn't think a police officer would do. He made me perform oral sodomy sex on him. I didn't know what to do. I was so afraid. I was afraid for my life. I kept begging him, "Sir, please don't make me do this. Don't make me do this, sir. Please, you're going to shoot me." He said, "I'm not going to shoot you." I said, "Yeah, you're going to shoot me." The only thing I could see was my life flash before my eyes. and the gun in his holster on his right side. And as I tried to look up at his name, I was afraid to, because I said if I know his name, I know he's going to kill me. So that I didn't do. So he did so many things to me, and I was so afraid, and I was out there, like I say, so helpless. But God's will, he let me live. And he let me live to tell this story like a lot of victims are not able to do. And I thank God above for letting me do that. All I can say is I was a victim. I was traumatized. I went to therapy. I had a stroke behind this. And I still live with this day after day. And all I know is I wasn't a criminal. I have no record. I didn't do anything wrong. You said I did something wrong. You said I was swerving, which I was not. You just wanted to stop me. So all I could say is I was innocent, and he just picked the wrong lady to stop that night.
Yes.
Okay.
And now you will hear from another hero, Miss Sade Hill, to tell you about what happened to her. And she has her mother and father to her side.
I just want to say, on the night that I was stopped, I didn't expect for none of that to happen. And when he approached the car, I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen next. Because me and some others was just sitting in the car, and they just came and approached the car, and it went from there. And once he did the arrest, I was took into a hospital on the whole opposite side of town, which I didn't think nothing of it at the time. And once I got there, they took off my clothes and handcuffed me to the bed and took me to a room, and no nurses, nobody came to check on me. And surely he just started to manipulate me. And
take your time.
Me being in a room with the police, not expecting to get violated the way I did, the way I was done, I just couldn't even believe it. I was speechless. I was scared. When everything was going down, I felt I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was in survival mode, so I had to do what he was making me do. So
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you. We do want to allow her parents to speak as well. And I want to just take a moment as president of the National Bar Association, the largest association of lawyers of color, and thank the jury for studying the evidence, for deliberating, and treating these women like they would treat any other American citizen. So we are very thankful, because a lot of people did not think that these women could get justice. And it shows that there's hope for our country, there's hope for society, and there's hope for all our sisters, mothers, wives, daughters who are victims of rape, no matter what race they are, what ethnicity they are, what social economic class and status they're in, because we certainly believe the serial rapist with a badge had a modus operandi that targeted poor black women who were in the system, as the state attorney articulated during the trial. And as you can see, it's very evident when you look at his victims. It wasn't coincidence who he chose to violate. It was methodical and it was deliberate. And so we're very grateful that the criminal justice system worked. And we pray that after so many cases around America, that we continue to evolve and we continue to get it right so everybody can trust in the system. And more importantly, we hope that this will be a deterrent that no other law enforcement officer would ever think, because he has cloaked with the government authority, that he can prey on the least of ye and get away with it. You all should know that other than excessive use of force, the number one complaint against police officers by minorities are sexual harassment. And that was never more apparent than in this case. And so hopefully the conversation has started and it won't end, because this is not just happening in Oklahoma City. We have reports from other places that this has happened to. And we all have to stand united as a society and say no more.
Mr. Crump, do you believe that the police and prosecutors deserve any praise for aggressively pursuing this case?
We'll get questions in a second. Mr. and Mrs. Muhammad.
I'll go ahead. First off, I would like to thank Mr. Crump for helping to shine some attention on this matter. I want to thank everybody who stood in support of the sisters. I want to thank the sisters for standing up and doing the right thing, because there's no telling how long this was going on and how many others are out there that have not came forward yet. But we are not totally satisfied. I don't understand how this officer could operate for months or maybe even years without it going unnoticed by somebody above him. How was he able to turn his GPS system off so many times and it not come across somebody's desk that's over him? How was he able to run people's names for warrants, finding out they had warrants but never show up at the police station with them? Someone else needs to be held accountable as well as him. We are not being rocked to sleep because of this verdict. We want more black officers patrolling the northeast side of town, because we believe this would have been exposed a lot sooner if it was more black officers patrolling that community that was seeing or aware of what was going on. But most importantly, I want to thank Mr. Crump for bringing attention to this situation.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. I thank you for being there for your family.
Well, me as a mother, I'm not satisfied with the outcome of the case. The highest sentence he received on the case was 30 years, and if they're ran together, he could be free in 7 years. And I really do not think that's justice for 13 women, 13 black queens that has been raped here. They have been violated in such a harsh way, and it took so long for someone to want to come and see what happened. And I just want to say I'm not satisfied, and I pray that David Prater does not run this man's counts together so he can be free real soon and walk in these streets and maybe terrorize someone else. But I feel like he shouldn't be the only one accounted for what he done. The chief of police, the governor of Oklahoma, everyone needs to be investigated. I feel like the justice system of Oklahoma needs to be investigated, and starting with Oklahoma City first.
And thank you to the parents and the family for being so courageous and trying to keep their emotions intact. This is a very painful thing. Just try to imagine if this was your daughter who got raped by someone who was supposed to protect and serve her. Your grandmother, who Miss Janie told me she pleaded with him that I'm a grandmother, and he still made her do those things. And so this is very personal. This is very personal. Think about your loved ones, the women in your families, as you think about this case. Mario, you want to say anything? Okay. Tez and Philip, you want to say something? And then we'll take your questions. Mr. Pruitt, you want to say anything?
I'm Teslin Figueroa, the lady that he was talking about that called Attorney Crump, and I'm going to make my comments very brief. I live in Houston, Texas, but I was born and raised in Oklahoma City. My mother worked at Channel 4 as the news director assistant for over 15 years. Uzi Brown Washington was my mentor. And I am ashamed at the lack of coverage from Oklahoma City media, as well as the national, with not covering this case as it should have been from day one. I reached out to attorneys who represented not these women, but attorneys who were involved, and asked, why is there no coverage? And they said they did not want any attention on this case. And I have the email to prove it. So I don't want to sidestep around my comments and play a game to make you feel comfortable. I want to be clear that I'm ashamed. My grandmother owns 2 properties next door to Spring Lake campus where this officer was assigned. I've been pulled over on the east side in my Mercedes-Benz with a Florida tag numerous times for no reason at all. With tears in my eyes, I called Attorney Crump and told him about these women. You were never alone, because I've been riding with you since day one. You didn't know me and I didn't know you, but I've been fighting for these women for the last year. I've been begging for an opportunity to speak to the family. Mr. Muhammad didn't know me. His lack of trust for the media was clear. When I called Mr. Pruitt and said, connect me with the family, when Roy called me and connected me to Mr. Muhammad, he didn't trust me, he didn't know me, because the media has shamed these women. The media has said that these women did not have the right to speak up. And so because of that, the delay has been where we could have been on this a long time ago. So I appreciate you being here now, but I want to know where you're going to be tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, when more women come forward.
And last and not least, Mr. Pruitt, NAACP president, and then I'll try to take some of your questions.
The only reason we're here today is because we were seeking justice for an injustice. We live in a system that ain't equal and is not fair. You're here today, like she just made mention of, because of the sensationalism of it today. But these ladies will be victimized for the rest of their lives. So we as a society, we as decent human beings, have got to be on the side of right. And when we get on the side of right, then we're doing the right thing. We're still looking for justice. We won't know anything until January the, 21st at 10 o'clock as to whether or not he'll get I just do. But don't let this be the only time that you come forward when people of color confront you with a situation that is not always favorable to your so-called dialect. If it had been the Thunders, we'd all be here. This ain't about no Thunders. It's about people's lives being victimized by a system that has a reputation of not being just and not being fair. So we're seeking justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Muhammad wanted to come back up for just one more second, then we'll answer your questions. Mr. Muhammad, you have.
No, I just wanted to let him know the regional minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has a few words.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Crump. I'm Student Minister Robert Muhammad of Houston, Texas. I serve as Southwest Regional Minister of the Nation of Islam and representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. First and foremost, I want to thank the Oklahoma City Artists for Justice. Had they not started tweeting out, we wouldn't have known anything about it. I want to thank Roland Martin and TV News One, because they were the only national outlet that covered this story. And so I simply want to say this: in the 60 years since Emmett Till was murdered, he whistled at a white woman, was dragged out of his cousin's house, and was murdered brutally. Here we have 13 black women who were assaulted and violated. Yet with all of our technology and all our ability to communicate around the world, it took social media of some activists and Roland Martin from the Black News Network to let us know that. Let us not repeat this ever again. We say in the Nation of Islam, a nation can rise no higher than this woman. The woman must be honored, respected, and protected. And a nation is judged by the condition of their women. We will no longer allow our women to be violated. It's justice or else, and we are the or else. Thank you.
We'll try to answer a few questions.
Janie,
Sade,
could you please address how you originally came forward and were courageous enough to file that police report, but actually come forward in a local news media story early on because you were afraid that other women may have been violated, and that is why you spoke out originally. Could you address that?
Correct. That's why I came forward, because I felt like I was violated. I was certain that other women had also been violated. So I came forward. I had the strength and courage to do so because I didn't want to see this happen to no one else. No way, no how. So I came forward. I had an interview on Channel 9 to make sure I was heard, so this matter could no longer happen to nobody else.
what you tell about your daughters? What you tell me about your daughters and them standing with you? You feel upset? No, that's fine. Okay.
You say tell them about my daughter?
Yeah. Her daughter's also part of the
Oh, yes.
heroic
Yes.
effort too. They were.
Yes, my daughters have been by my side. I was headed to Marissa's house that morning when I was stopped. And when I got there, she jumped out of bed and grabbed her kids. She called the police station. She didn't get no answer. So we went down there, and she made sure the matter was taken care of. Also, my other daughter, they've been by my side since day one.
Did you ever consider not reporting this like some of the other victims?
Not even close. As soon as it happened, I immediately went to the police.
Okay.
Were you concerned when the jury was taking so long?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Without a doubt. He know what he did, and he know what happened.
Were you concerned that the jury wouldn't see it that way?
Again, no, because I know what he did to me, and he know what he did, so I was not concerned. I just wasn't.
I'll let Sade answer that question as well.
Okay.
Sade, were you concerned when the jury was taking so long that you might be acquitted?
I was, after so long. My faith in the situation had been strong from day one because I feel like we all know what's done in the dark will come out to the light. So for this whole situation to come about, I found out about it on Facebook on a news clipping, and I told my mama, I'm like, Mama, this is him. She had already knew about what I had already told her, so it was just a shock to me that he finally had got caught. My situation happened 2013 in December, and so by the summertime, July, is when I seen the clip about him had got caught, and then, we went about it, going to the detectives finally, because I still can't believe that he's there, because I wouldn't think an officer would jeopardize his job like that. Like, he was reckless with everything, and for him to just be so, like, I didn't understand how at the end he was trying to really look at the jurors like he didn't do it, and in your heart that you did this. So I believed that my faith was strong in this whole situation because you were wrong. You know you were wrong. And if those jurors had a heart, they knew he was wrong because, like we say, this could have been anybody's mother, grandmother, daughter, niece. This could have been a family member. And I just want to say, black lives do matter. We matter. We are survivors.
You have a question, sir?
Well, my question was, the police and prosecutors obviously were aggressive about pursuing this case. Do you feel that they were not aggressive enough? Or
we still don't know. We've been told, and I've been working with Attorney Solomon Simmons, Attorney Hall, and Mr. Pruitt from the NAACP. We understand that there were other women who had called before who calls went unanswered. So we need to find out how aggressive they were. We need to find out, as Mr. Muhammad said, how could this happen so many times and nobody see what was going on? How could he keep checking background checks and turning his GPS off? And, it's mind-boggling how nobody would catch this.
And you represent these women in civil litigation against the city?
Yes.
Can you describe that litigation, what you expect?
Well, obviously when police, under color of law, violate constitutional rights of American citizens, we have a remedy under law that a civil action can be brought. And as you all know, there's criminal justice and then there's a civil justice. Oftentimes, people in our communities of color don't get full justice. They have to get one or the other. So this is a unique opportunity for these women to get full justice. And we intend on fighting day and night for them to get